everybody. Hello, Leah Corella. Hi, Befranco. Hi, Micah155 Hibble. Ego X-Cause. It's my indoor birthday today. Happy indoor birthday to you. I gotta pull on. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the late night quarantine boring David Harbour show. Thank you all for tuning in. I think you know what time it is. That's right. What do we do every show on the David Harbour late night show, quarantine show? It's late night here. It's probably like early in the afternoon for you. You know what we do? We go and wash our hands. So shall we? We got a global pandemic happening, and the doctors and people tell us that the best thing we can do to stay safe is to wash our hands and to make sure that our loved ones are safe too. So I'm going to head right in here to the bathroom. Got a sink in front of me. So, all right, I'm going to say hi to Georgia because she asked me to, but this is it. Everyone put down the phones. Rihanna, wash your hands. Everybody put down the phones. You don't have to talk at this point. Just wash your hands. You know what I mean? We don't always have to chat and interact. It's nice to know that you're there, but you don't always have to. Here we go. You know how I like to do. Just like to get under the fingernails here. Do the thing here, put it in the thing. It's got something stuck in my throat, and I feel tremendously self-conscious and strange in this environment now, coughing on a live Instagram with you guys, but I feel like I'm alright. So there we go. Hands are washed. I don't have a towel totally close by. There we go. All right. Let's go sit down and do some stuff now that we washed our hands. Thank you, Sarah. Bravo to me. How are you guys tonight? How is everybody? Is everybody feeling okay? Is everybody hopefully bored today in pandemic lockdown? I went through fear to boredom, and today has been an okay day, I guess. I did a little bit of a workout, which was nice, which I needed, which I haven't been doing. Had some nice conversations with some people. I speculated about a lot of stuff. I was in my head, and I planned the future and regretted and enjoyed the past, and did all of that, and nothing changed. Present moment. That's just the way that goes. I unpacked some stuff. Got some new clothes sent to me in New York. I got some clothes sent from my apartment because I didn't take anything with me, so I had someone send me some clothes. That's nice. Nice to wear something other than the 2 pair of jeans I've been wearing around, which are disgusting. All right. I got a bunch of questions online. Some of them were very funny, hypothetical questions. Some of you guys do not understand what a hypothetical question is. And, you just say things like, do you support Chopper? And that's not a hypothetical question. That is, I do, but that is not a hypothetical question. All right, but let's there are some good ones, so I want to tackle those. Again, I can't read all of this. The people who, it is sort of overwhelming the amount of people that stuff comes in, so it's kind of a lottery, like what I see and don't see. It's just sort of like, I kind of scroll through and I'll take pictures and just sort of grab a couple things here and there. And I wish I could talk to every single person individually, but it's just kind of overwhelming, the nature of these things. All right. Today's article, very interesting to me. By the way, did you guys see that thing about the woman who turned herself into a potato for the Zoom meeting and couldn't figure out how to get it off? So she had to do the whole meeting as the potato. I think that may have been the best article about this global pandemic. The best reporting ever. Yeah, I wish I could turn myself into a potato. I sort of look like a potato anyway. All right. This is from the New Statesman. It's by a guy named Will Dunn. Will, if you're out there and watching, it's a hell of an article, man. Good reporting. How America built the best pandemic response system in history and then threw it away. The Trump administration destroyed an infrastructure built over 2 decades that may have been humanity's most powerful weapon against new diseases. The islands of Qinghai Lake, more than 10,000 feet above sea level in northwestern China, are well known to people who study pandemics. Each year they provide a resting point for hundreds of thousands of birds as they migrate along the Central Asian and East Asian flyways. Diseases brought here by birds can travel across these great migration routes which join other flyways to span the globe. Lori Garrett had been at the Council on Foreign Relations for less than a year when in 2005 she was told that a mutational event had occurred on Qinghai Lake. A type of avian influenza was infecting bar-headed geese, a species that migrates thousands of kilometers crossing the Himalayas from the Tibetan Plateau to reach as far as southern India. The disease killing the geese was the H5N1 influenza virus, which had previously been found only in intensively farmed chickens. The host range of the virus was greatly expanding, Garrett tells me, from her home in New York. Instead of just being in a handful of species of migratory birds that stayed within the Asia flyway, suddenly migratory birds that did east-west pathways across Siberia and into Europe could carry the virus. A pandemic of H5N1 had apocalyptic potential. When the disease was transmitted to humans, it had a mortality rate of around 60%. A prominent voice in the discussion of public health crisis for many years, Garrett has spent decades warning governments about the danger of pandemics. Her first book, The Coming Plague, was published in 1994. In 1996, she won a Pulitzer for her reporting of the Ebola outbreak in Zaire. After hearing about the spread of H5N1 in 2005, Garrett immediately requested a meeting with a member of George W. Bush's Security Council. I started showing him maps and explaining where those birds went and what this could mean in terms of introducing this super lethal virus, she recalls. We didn't have enough data to know, was this the big one? Security advisors from the CIA, Defense Intelligence Agency, and other interests did not prevaricate over Garrett's warning. They went straight to the Oval Office. Bush ordered the creation of a pandemic preparedness plan, the first to be formulated by the U.S. government. Garrett had seen what a failure to prepare for disaster could mean when a week after the terrorist attacks of 11th of September 2001, letters containing the deadly anthrax bacteria began arriving at the offices of politicians and media organizations in the U.S. As agencies competed and interfered with one another's work, Garrett saw fistfights between investigators. It laid bare all the frailties of this very complicated set of government agencies. Responses, going from city level all the way up to the federal government, she remembers. The plan drawn up by the Bush administration aimed to unpick this mess. From then on, governments and administrations built on that framework and used it to adapt to new scientific findings. The next big test came in 2009 when, less than 3 months after Barack Obama was inaugurated, H1N9 influenza, or swine flu, began to spread around the world. Among a number of top civil service jobs that had yet to be filled, the new director of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, Tom Frieden, was still waiting to be approved by Congress. And all of a sudden, here was this flu, which in 6 months made it everywhere on the planet. Swine flu is a very dangerous disease. The 2009 pandemic may have infected as much as 24% of the global population, which at the time was around 6.8 billion. The Center for Disease Control and Prevention estimate that it killed somewhere between 152,000 and 575,000. And unlike most flu strains, it was more lethal to the young. Thankfully, for most people, it was less dangerous than was first thought. But the new president was appalled, Garrett remembers, by the response to the pandemic in the U.S. Swine flu really shook him up. In the years that followed, the phrase health security came into regular use in American government. By 2013, the U.S. had a health security proposal that Garrett describes as a scheme to train governments in poor countries in how to do surveillance and response to new diseases, which was necessary as very few countries, I think it was 8 countries on the planet, actually complied with the WHO's regulations on the resources, training, and surveillance necessary to monitor outbreaks of infectious diseases. The responsibility for monitoring diseases in other countries was to be shared by the CDC and the U.S. government's International Development Agency, USAID. Domestically, the U.S. engaged in thinking exercises, training exercises, outbreak training exercises in almost every hospital in America, and still the U.S. was not prepared. In July of the following year, a 40-year-old American named Patrick Sawyer boarded a plane from Monrovia, the capital of Liberia, to Lagos, Nigeria. Shortly after getting off the plane, Sawyer collapsed and was taken to a nearby hospital where he was diagnosed with Ebola. He died 4 days later. The Obama administration, Garrett recalls, watched in shock. We'd never before seen Ebola in more than one country at a time. We'd never before seen it at international airports. We'd never run the risk that it would get to some huge hub. The Lagos metropolitan area is home to 21 million people. The U.S., having dedicated years to pandemic preparedness, joined other countries in pressuring the WHO to declare a public health emergency, which it eventually did in August 2014, 9 months after the first case was discovered. As soon as this happened, Tom Frieden traveled to Liberia. He came back and went straight to the White House with his hair on fire, just completely freaked out, said that this was going to be an enormous catastrophic event. At the beginning of September 2014, Garrett was asked to brief the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the board that advises the President on security and defense, on how the U.S. military could help on the ground in countries worst affected by Ebola, Liberia, Sierra Leone, Guinea. This was an idea unprecedented in U.S. history. We'd never mobilized U.S. military for a medical response like that before. And still, what Garrett saw on the ground in West Africa was a lot of jockeying for power and money, a lot of competition between agencies, not just between U.S. agencies, but between UN agencies, NGOs, and on and on. It was really chaos at first. Again, the administration moved to clarify the chains of command to work effectively with other agencies and governments to avoid confusion. When a case did make its way to a hospital in Dallas, Texas, a coordinated domestic response meant it went no further than that, largely because they mobilized swiftly and responded correctly. All the same, the 2014 Ebola outbreak was another shock. It alerted the U.S. to the urgent need for a health security infrastructure that extended far beyond its own borders. By 2016, America had coordinated an all-of-government response to the next epidemic, in knowledge that if it hit America, every agency would be taxed, from the U.S. Treasury Department to Commerce to the USDA. It wouldn't just be health agencies. Garrett briefly sums up the infrastructure created to provide this response as Special Elite Corps inside the National Security Council, the Department of Homeland Security, Health and Human Services, and CDC, amongst others, an emergency capacity for surge drug approval at FDA, a lot of coordination with the states, a whole division that was doing nothing but training hospitals in infection control and appropriate epidemic responses, and a lot of study on how to surge hospital beds, how to surge physicians out of retirement, and so on. No country, least of all a vast landmass with 149 international airports, can ever be fully prepared for a pandemic. But in 2016, the U.S. was domestically and internationally more prepared than it had ever been. On the 8th of May, 2018, Donald Trump signed Recession Proposal R18-1 asking the U.S. government to take back $15 billion in spending. At the time, coverage of these cuts focused on the $7 billion that would be taken from the Children's Health Insurance Program. But the 38-page proposal details a swath of other cuts. Among these was the removal of the remaining $252 million budget for international disaster assistance that had been committed in 2015 as part of the Ebola response, and the State Department's $30 million Complex Crises Fund. The CDC, in response to previous funding cuts, had already reduced its pandemic preparedness activity in 39 countries. On the day R18-1 was signed, the WHO announced a new outbreak of Ebola in the Democratic Republic of Congo. 2 days later, the newly appointed National Security Advisor John Bolton dissolved the Global Health Security Team with the NSC. Timothy Zymer, the most senior White House official in charge of responses to pandemics or bioterrorism, left that day and was not replaced. The issue with these programs was not that they were expensive. The $282 million saved on pandemic preparedness by R18-1 represents less than 0.007% of U.S. government spending in 2018, but that they were connected to the health security agenda, which had been an Obama project. Donald Trump owes his political career to his predecessor. Having previously failed to gain any momentum as a politician, in 2008, Trump became the most prominent member of the birther movement, a loose network of pundits dedicated to circulating the racist conspiracy theory that Barack Obama was not African American, but African. The fringe issue of Obama's provenance allowed Trump to become a constant presence on social media and grow in stature among those in the Republican Party who shared that view. Perhaps for this reason, almost the only stable theme in Donald Trump's policy as president has been his desire to undo the work of Barack Obama. Whether this is based on a real personal animosity or the knowledge that it appeals to his base, the removal of America's ability to protect itself and the wider world from pandemics of infectious disease appears to have been driven by this impulse. It was really, says Garrett, just about getting rid of the things that had Obama's name on them. The Trump administration is not solely to blame. Successive administrations have failed to regulate the consolidation of the pharmaceutical industry, which Garrett says has all but disregarded curative medicine, such as vaccines and treatment of infectious disease, in favor of longer-term therapies with greater market potential. We had warning in the form of SARS in 2003 and MERS in 2013, signaling to us that this whole family of viruses called coronaviruses that we hadn't been taking seriously. We had the warnings, but we don't have vaccines for either of those. We don't have effective treatments for either of those. The damage done by America's failure to prepare for or even acknowledge the threat of COVID-19 is only beginning to become apparent. Last week, the U.S. conducted fewer than 350 tests per million people. On Saturday night, Lori Garrett recorded the sound of sirens in her home in New York. The last time I heard this many ambulance sirens is piercing the New York City night was 9/11, she wrote. On Sunday, the governor of Louisiana announced a statewide stay-at-home order following the publication of statistics that showed the state to have the fastest growth of COVID-19 cases in any state or country. America is waking up to a disaster which it has forfeited the capability to address, and the impacts of this decision will be felt around the world for many years to come. So, that is a not very uplifting article, but a very informative article about our pandemic response structure in government and how it has been chipped away at. And now we're sort of paying a price for that. And, you know, clearly there are these things that government does that we hopefully will never be aware of. I mean, I wish I was never aware of pandemic funding and how important it was. I wish we never had anything in our lives to make that thing necessary, but clearly there are, clearly it's a department of government that's vitally important. And, as we get through this and as we move forward, I think in terms of pandemics and in terms of climate change and things like this, I feel like we're going to need more emergency response systems in place from the government that sort of work with independent businesses. And we have structures in place to deal with these catastrophes, because this is a catastrophe, and it has been compounded by it being a catastrophe of a catastrophe. So, anyway, I was really fascinated by that article. I thought it was really amazing. And, yeah, very well reported. So, good job, New Statesman, and well done. All right. Wow, time flies. Let's see. I'm going to do a couple of your stupid hypothetical questions because I think they're funny. And then I may pick somebody and do a little live stream stuff with. But let's see some of these. Ava Babzig says, what if we were all in a coma and the strange noises we hear, the doctor's trying to free us? I like that question. It is the Matrix, right? That is the theme of that movie, sort of. It's also, there's an episode of The X-Files where they go out to investigate a double suicide or something. They find these bones in the woods, and they go and suddenly they start hallucinating and seeing weird stuff, and then suddenly they realize that they're trapped in a mushroom underground and they're hallucinating their lives. And then at one point they come back, but with the beauty of film, like, you know how you cut and you go to somewhere else, and in a film it's just, we just watch it and we go like, oh, that guy like went to the store and then he came back. In this, it's like they cut to them sitting in the office, and at one point Scully and Mulder turn to each other and they're like, I don't know, how do we get out of the mushroom? And he's like, and they sort of hang a lantern on the actual cut nature of editing in film to be like, we didn't actually ever leave, and they're still trapped under the mushroom, and then they get out. So I think that it's a great metaphor, though, too, because we are all just food for worms, and being, our bodies will decompose by mushrooms. So whether or not this is all a dream or reality actually exists in some form is almost beside the point. And yet it is fully the point, because the only thing we really do have is time. It is the greatest villain, and also our most precious lover. Because we do have time on this earth, don't we? We do have time. We do have that. And that is different than being in a coma. You can breathe and know you are alive. Trippy, man. Yes. Okay. Let's get some stupid ones. Maya Hawk, by the way, said, is love at first sight real? No. I am your fan. How are you? Our million fin... Again, these are not hypothetical questions. Hi, can I come to your house? Not a hypothetical question. If you were a peanut butter, crunchy or smooth? I have clearly been inside too long, says Linz0202. That's a great question, Linz. Do not beat up on yourself like that. That's a terrific question. You fulfilled... I said hypothetical question. If I was a peanut butter, crunchy or smooth? I mean... I gotta go crunchy. Do you like tomatoes? That's not a hypothetical question. Am I your girlfriend? Is that a hypothetical question? Lisa 907? You're not. But that's a good thing. I mean, you should talk to my girlfriend. If nothing is faster than light, how did darkness get there first? Wow. We're going to go really deep here on the stupid David Harbour show. Thich Nhat Hanh. If you all need some comfort, watch some of his videos, some meditations. He has a great one about that, where he says, the Bible, the first line of the Bible is kind of weird because if God said, let there be light, light can only exist when darkness is there, and darkness can only exist when light is there. So if God says, let there be light, he says, if there's darkness, I'm already here. There can only be life with death. There can only be light with dark. So, I don't know what your question was, though. Let's see. Did you know that the only time you clean your skeleton is when you brush your teeth? I do not. I know that now, Kenzie Duncan. Thank you for that. Well, hey.
You meditate?
No, I'm not meditating. I'm talking to Instagram. Oh. You want to go talk to Instagram?
How many views have you got?
3,200. Looks like it's growing because you're here. Because I suggested that you come. I think they like the fact that I'm talking off camera.
That you're not talking to the camera?
No, that I'm talking to. That there's something. There's a surprise.
It's not good light for me. Hi.
Hey everybody, this is Lily Allen.
Live from the apocalypse. Baby, what are you doing? You're not even talking to them. Sorry, I'm not going to shame you.
Somebody just asked if online if I was there, if they were my girlfriend, and I was like, no, but that's a good thing. You should ask my girlfriend.
Do you want to come and watch something on Netflix with me?
I think I'm being pulled away. Yeah. Yeah, I do. Let's.
Do you want me to make you a snack first?
Yeah.
Oh, darling one. Oh, king.
Why are you being so nice? Because you know I'm on Instagram live.
Yeah.
Trying to get good PR for
Can I
you.
put your shoes on to go to the kitchen?
I love these shoes.
What do you want as a snack? Digestive?
Yeah.
Avocado on
Or
toast?
yeah, yeah.
Avocado on toast.
Ooh, yeah. Or
It's
just
a bit late for that, isn't it? Digestive,
yeah. It surprised me. Okay. Connor says watch Sex Education. Are you in that, Connor? You have a blue check. I haven't watched that yet. Is my friend Alistair in that though? Is Alistair Petrie in that? Okay. Let's go live with somebody, right? Maybe we'll talk to Connor about his new show if he's around. Connor, are you in that show? Did you answer me? I can't tell. Tiger King. I watched Tiger King the other. Oh my God, you are. Alistair plays your dad. Okay, let's talk about it, man. I got no idea.
Hey, dude.
What's up, Connor? How are you, man?
Good, man. How's it going?
It's going pretty good. How are you?
Yeah, good, man. Yeah,
Are you-
Alistair is in that show. He plays my dad.
Are you? So you're a Brit as well.
Yes, I am.
Where are you now? Where are you currently?
I'm in West London.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we're
Yeah.
we're out here in the country. It's weird, right?
In
Are
the
you all
UK.
locked down and everything?
Yeah, dude, it's crazy. It's
Yeah.
really crazy.
Were you shooting at all before you got locked down?
We were about to. I was shooting something else in Scotland, and it's all just been shut down, cut off.
And you going back for what season? Your second or third?
Third.
Oh wow, okay. So there are 2 seasons out already?
Yeah, dude, you should
And,
check it out.
and Alistair plays your dad?
He does. He plays the headmaster of the school. He's
Oh,
great.
nice. Yeah, no, I've heard great things about it, man. I don't know. I'm not exactly the demographic though, am I? I mean, it's more. It's
Yeah,
kind of.
dude, totally.
It is. It's like an adult show. It's not because people say the same thing about Stranger Things. They're like, but like it is an adult show. It's not like
Yeah.
it's not like a 12-year-old show.
No, dude. No, no,
Okay.
no, 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 no.
All right.
No, yeah.
I don't get out much, Connor. I don't really know what's going on.
Well, perfect.
All right.
Yeah, dude. Of course you can watch it.
All right, cool. I'll check it out then. Alistair's great, man. I love that dude.
Dude, he is probably one of the best humans that we have.
Yeah.
He's a real ally.
Yeah. So you've enjoyed working on that show?
Yeah, dude, it's such a blast. It's such a good time. I mean, I'm sure you know what that's like, but it's just a blessing, man. Everyone's lovely, and it's like, it's fun to do, just to show up and piss around every day, you know?
That's cool. Do you guys shoot it here in London or in Atlanta?
We shoot in Wales.
Oh, okay. Wow, Wales.
Yeah,
Nice.
it's nice, man. It's nice.
Cool, man. Well, thank you for the pitch. I will. I'll check it out, and I'll let you know. Good to meet you, Connor.
Yeah, you too, dude. Thank you.
Take care, man. Bye-bye. We just got a show recommendation, baby, from Connor. It's a show called Sex Education that he's on. He said we should watch it.
Which character does he play?
He plays a young, handsome gentleman on it.
I've watched Sex Education.
Okay, so his name is Connor. He's very handsome. He's Alistair Petrie is his dad, who plays the headmaster of the school, and he's I guess the son of Alistair Petrie's character. Do you know who I'm talking about? She thinks you're great in the show, Connor.
Okay. Can we go and watch a movie now?
All right. That was really fun. Connor's a lovely dude. I'm psyched that my girlfriend has seen his show and I haven't seen his show. I'm going to watch it, though. I hope you guys like that article. I hope you like my answering of your hypothetical questions. Have a good night. Maybe we'll do this again sometime.